All right, hey, I'm Steve Lewis with Access.com. I'm with frontman of Twisted Sister, Dee Snider. Dee, thanks for talking with us.
Pleasure.
Let's go back to the very beginning. How did you first become interested in music?
I'm old. Saw the Beatles I didn't even see the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show because my father had banned television in our house. My dad was a cop, my mother was a church lady, and he decided we were going to get back to making puzzles and making models and reading books. So while the Beatles performed on Ed Sullivan and the world was changed, I was building a fucking puzzle. But that said, just the reaction the next day in elementary school, the way people were talking, I said, this is what I got to do. I got to be a Beatle. Found out I couldn't be a Beatle, so Snider Spiders was my first band.
Okay. Well, how did you end up joining Twisted Sister?
Well, I was playing I was 20 when I joined Twisted, and they heard about me, and they actually existed, and I heard about them, and I always tell people that Twisted Sister are those guys. All right, remember ever go see a band? Talk to people out there. Ever go see a band, and there's always that one oddball, and like you see a band in a club. I'm not talking about a concert band, in a club, and the band's up there playing, and then there's one guy who's like dressed up and he's moving around, seems totally out of place. Well, we were each one of those guys in our own bands, and we met each other. So all 5 guys were the oddballs from other bands formed a band of oddballs. Okay.
Now I remember the early days of MTV. One of the promos they used was from "You Can't Stop Rock and Roll," where the guy's wearing the headphones and it still explodes and stuff with them. So that was a really early promotion of MTV. What do you guys think when MTV got to use that promo right? From your band before MTV even became close to blowing up.
Interesting, because nobody's ever asked that question before, and we had broken in the UK. In England, but we had not made it broken out in the United States. So that was the first time the audience got to see us in any capacity. So that's how people first got to see us. It was in that promo. But a lot of people, when we first came to the United States to start touring, thought we were English because they heard about us from Kerrang! Magazine and from our import record, So that was actually like the first little crack in the wall for us,
Right. You have to read the question. You guys are all American. How does an American band end up in the UK making it there first?
There's a documentary called "We Are Twisted Fucking Sisters" available on Netflix, which documents the fact that Twisted was together for 10 years before the world found us. So we were struggling, locally popular, but we just couldn't get a record deal. And out of desperation, we followed the footsteps of Jimi Hendrix, Joan Jett, the Stray Cats. Many other American artists have had to go overseas to get recognized. And we went to England and we got a record deal, and then we worked our way backwards. We were signed to Atlantic Records in England. We first broke in England.
Under the Blade and Can't Stop Rock were both great albums, but obviously the band really blew up with Stay Hungry. A big part of that was the music videos for We're Not Gonna Take It, We Want to Rock. How did you guys decide to cast Mark Metcalf, best known for playing Niedermeyer in the Animal House movies, to play your adversary in those videos?
Well, be careful with the copy blocking the camera for yourself.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a big Animal House fan.
Who isn't?
And especially of a certain generation.
I am.
And me and my brothers were always joking around about those. And when I wrote the video for We're Not Gonna Take It, the director said, "Well, like, who do you see like as the father?" And I said, "Well, you ever see Animal House? Mark Metcalf, someone like him." Now, to me, Mark Metcalf was a superstar. But the reality was he hadn't worked in like years at that point. And my director, Marty Calder, said, "Get someone like Mark Metcalf. Why don't we just hire Mark Metcalf? What is he doing? Working on a cure for cancer?" And for $1,000 and a coach plane ticket, we had Mark Metcalf. Like I said, to me, superstar.
Right. Now, I was too young to see the band when Stay Hungry toured. I got to see them in New York City, both for Come Out and Play and Love Us for Suckers. And one thing that both of those shows had in common was this. Towards the end of the show, I don't know, you must have like super 20/20 vision. You would find somebody who's rocking out the whole concert way in the back, way in the back, and you would bring that guy all the way up on the stage. You did it at both shows. I imagine you do it everywhere. How did that tradition start?
Well, it goes back to the time that I got tickets to a concert, and it was one of my early concerts I went to, and I thought they were great seats. And I asked out like the best looking girl in the school, and only because they were like hot tickets, she went with me. All right. When we get there, I assume, because they had AA on this thing, I assumed I'm on the floor, and all I remember is arriving at the arena, and they kept pointing up. And we kept walking higher and higher and higher until we were in like the top row. You couldn't even see the band. And I remember being up there. Not only was I red as a beet with this date who I told her I had great seats, but also said, "Does the band even know I'm alive up here?" So one day it just dawned on me that I could see when people are going wild up in the rafters. And I said, I'm going to get one of those guys each night and bring them on stage from the worst seat to the best seat. And the audience would connect with that in a big way because everybody identified with the guy who had the lousy seats, you know? So it just became this tradition. I haven't done it in years, but it was fun.
So let's talk about Strangeland. How does Captain Howdy go from a song to a movie?
When I wrote the song Captain Howdy and Street Justice, I envisioned a much bigger thing. It says the beginning next to those two songs. And I actually thought I was going to do a concept record. I started on that, but I never finished it. And then I started writing a movie, and I was actually looking for a new horror icon. And I was writing screenplays, and I realized I had a horror icon, Captain Howdy, on a Twisted Sister record, and it went from there.
Okay, now that's the thing is, he is a horror icon, but people don't realize, except for one person that was by an accident, he doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. I wanted to reinvent the horror genre at that time, and there was no torture films. And I thought about, so what are horror films about? They're about being chased and about dying. I said, well, what's worse than being chased and dying? Well, being helpless and suffering. Because when you're being chased, there's a chance you're going to get away, and in the films they often do. And when you die, there's peace and death. But to not die and to just suffer, that to me was much more disturbing. And that's where I got the idea, and it was the first, Strangeland was the first movie rated R for scenes of torture. The MPAA freaked out when they saw the movie. They had never seen anything like it. Subsequently, it's now a whole genre of horror films.
How dangerous would Captain Howdy be today if he had tools like Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat at his disposal?
Well, we're going to find out, because I think we're finally getting to a point where the sequel is imminent. I can't make a formal announcement now, but hopefully in a couple months I'm going to have something formal to announce. I'm working on the updated script, and we're going to find just that. It's 20 years later, and I'm going to do it in real time. 20 years later, Captain Howdy has been released from the hospital, and where are all these characters at 20 years later? Do they carry the scars? Do they carry the anger? And all these things. And where's Captain Howdy at? We're going to find out.
How much was fun was it when he gets cured and you're playing Carlton? Were those fun scenes to shoot when you were like sort of not Captain Howdy on those shots those days?
The scenes of Carlton Hendricks were the toughest things for me to do. It was so different for me, not that I'm Captain Howdy, but to be that introverted and that reserved and that timid. It actually hurt my stomach all day. I would be like, I'd like ulcers from being in that state of being that character. So those were the toughest things for me to do.
That's like the ones that also really stand out for you, don't mind me saying. But also strange, and also since you inspired Twisted Sister getting back to put a song on the soundtrack. What's like getting the band back together in the studio for that one song?
That helped to break down the walls that existed between the guys in Twisted. The fact was that all 5 guys were not in the same place at the same time for that song, which is Heroes Are Hard to Find, the end credits song. But it was a start. Just the fact that we all worked together on something, it started the road to bring us back together. Okay, well the day after Strangeland came out, that Saturday in Long Island on a record store, the 5 of you guys did get together, do autographs and post pictures. That may have been the first time.
That was. So I remember.
Because we recorded much earlier. Right. So that was months later.
So that day you guys all were together. Do you remember anything about that day? And there you are together, and with the fans on top of that.
You know what? I think these were all pieces to healing the band. To be in this place, to see the fans' adoration and appreciation, and realize that in a lot of ways, and this goes for all artists, what you do is bigger than yourselves. You know what I mean? If you did something, you're lucky enough to do something that touches people, and see the audience, the fan response to seeing us together, it definitely helped in the healing process.
Moving on to something that's going on today. I had no idea you were a chef.
I'm not. Who said I'm a chef?
I watched some videos that have you making some stuff online. So.
Oh, Yeah. No, as a matter of fact, I've been approached by a new TV show called Celebrity Worst Chefs in the World, and they're interested in having me be on the show. So they have me in the kitchen, but I'm not doing nothing. Like, it's easy to just pour some stuff in there. Yeah, I'm anything but a chef.
There's a great new powerful version of We're Not Gonna Take It out there. It's a acoustic version. It's actually about cancer patients. How did that project come together?
Well, I recorded the alternate version, We're Not Gonna Take It, the unplugged for this record, my new album, We Are the Ones.
Right.
And Chris Angel's a friend, and he was doing this thing, a new children's cancer charity, and I told him that I had a version of We're Not Gonna Take It I think he should hear. And when he heard it, he called me up. He was like practically crying. He said, this will be the battle cry for children's cancer. And he approached me and said, let's do a video. And the response to it's been huge. You know, the video went viral. Millions and millions of people have watched it. And just I get so many emails every day from people who just said they broke down in tears.
Last question. What would you say is the status of heavy metal today?
Heavy metal is powerful and strong. It's not as mainstream as it once was, which is probably better for it. I think the worst thing happened to metal was it became mainstream. Metal always thrived and survived by being the cockroach of rock and roll. And so my kids are into new metal. They constantly turn me on new bands. I know a lot of new bands. There's great music out there. We just don't get the recognition or the sales, but there's great music out there.
All right, Theo, thanks a lot for talking to us, man.
Pleasure.